Hi, today we have an unusual topic: how to tell your grandmother that you're a fundraiser. It's an odd question, but I believe it's a good place to start because it calls up lots of questions about ourselves and our profession. So let's consider it. In fact, I believe it runs very deeply, and we're going to explore that precise topic. How can you tell your grandmother that you're a fundraiser? In the process, we're going to question the structure, the evolution, and the values of fundraising. Do you have any hesitancy in telling your grandmother? And if you don't have a grandmother, I invite you just to imagine you're telling your grandmother about your profession. Do you have any hesitancy in doing precisely that? Well, there might be good reason for that hesitancy. But first, I'm Ken. This is the channel Empowerment Dialogue for Fundraisers. Here, we're dedicated to empowering all fundraisers to empower others in their philanthropic dreams. On this channel, we will address all aspects of fundraising, the challenges, solutions. We're going to focus a lot on one-to-one fundraising in various aspects, mainly soliciting major and planned gifts. And it's a collaborative effort. This is a forum, so I welcome your comments. I'm getting lots of them. Thank you. And suggestions. I think we can learn from each other, and this will become an important forum for fundraising. There's a subscribe button down in the corner, and also give it a thumbs up. That helps YouTube spread the word to other fundraisers. So let's get back to the topic. Okay, how do you tell your grandmother that you're a fundraiser? And let's play with that hesitancy that we may have. Let's start by acknowledging that there's lots of bad fundraising out there. Here's some examples of bad fundraising. Well, the bad headlines. This is from a tabloid in England where they're very quick to put bad headlines up about fundraising, but you can read it. Oxfam's hard sell, the first launch of a TV ad campaign backed by a celebrity. Then the millions roll in, but only £6.35 in every 10 goes to the poor. Not a surprise. Those kind of headlines have been repeated in all the English-speaking countries. The next area is lotteries. I'm not suggesting that lotteries aren't very important to some very important charitable causes, but they're not fundraising. They're marketing, and if you will, they're gambling. That's what they are. They're like sports betting and government-sponsored lotteries. This is why our professions might be confusing to our grandmothers. This is how we're known in part. Bad annual fund solicitation. It seems the worst of fundraising comes to the fore when it comes to annual solicitation. A kind of a overpowering hounding that goes on to the public. And this is just an example of letter after letter after letter. Some organizations will send 10 letters a year. This starts to form the impression people have of fundraising. You might argue that this is really just marketing, but we get branded. We fundraisers get branded by all of this. Tax reduction incentives. And here I'm going to pick on Fidelity Investments, who really got into this business around the turn of the millennium in a big way and held up to people the financial benefits of making a charitable gift. And of course, then the subsequent growth in donor-advised funds. There's nothing wrong with donor-advised funds, please. I'm not against them. I'm just saying it's not fundraising. It's a little bit of fundraising, a little bit of charitable intent in there, but it's not working at a deep level on philanthropy. It may be in some cases people use it as a tool to express their philanthropy, but quite often it is espoused by financial planners or tax planners, and it starts to muddy the profession and what we are as fundraisers. Well, along with that comes charitable tax fraud. It's always prevalent. I pulled this one chart out from 2003 to 2010, and it is you can see how many billions of dollars. I think this is a Canadian chart, and it's the billions of dollars. In blue is the legitimate charities and organizations, and the gold color is donations to tax shelters. So this is kind of the seemly side, if you will, of the tax reduction incentives, and that's outright fraud. It's always prevalent. It goes up and down as the economy goes, but also as the authorities regulate at a stricter level. But we're also branded by that. Lack of students, I have to explain. I taught a postgraduate course in fundraising for 5 years at a notable college. So these are university graduates with an intensive 10-month course in fundraising with at least 2 internships. As we notice more and more over the years, even though 92 or 93% of the graduates ended up in very good jobs in the fundraising industry with lots of career potential ahead of them, it was getting more and more, and it is getting more and more difficult to recruit students for our profession. So that kind of pathway to our profession is being also affected by the branding of the negative branding of fundraising. We did a survey, and this was in 2020, and we surveyed 2,500 fundraisers in North America, and we asked this question: what are the challenges you experience when it comes to asking for a gift? And here were the choices that were offered. So rate these reasons why your job as a fundraiser might be challenging. 1, I don't know how to ask for a gift. 2, I'm afraid of talking to prospects or donors and making the ask. 3, I don't want to be seen as manipulating or misleading a prospect to get a gift. 4, I don't know enough about the tax and structural aspects of securing a gift. And finally, I worry about not knowing the technical details of fundraising and gift options. So that was the array of choices. How do you think people responded? Good sampling. We had a great response. So it's fairly accurate sort of feeling of the pulse of fundraisers. And there's implications to how they answered. So how do you think they answered? Number 3, 90% of fundraisers agreed or strongly agreed that they don't want to be seen as manipulating or misleading people to get a gift. It was overwhelming. Next was 28% agreed or strongly agreed that they don't know enough about the tax or structural aspects of securing a gift. But overwhelmingly, this is how, if you will, the fundraisers are looking in the mirror, and they don't want to be seen as manipulating or trying to convince someone to make a gift, which suggests that our industry is branded that way. And there's a great desire to not be seen as doing that. It's reflective of the internal conflict in fundraisers about this very topic. I don't know how to ask for a gift was not chosen to any great degree, as was I'm afraid of talking to prospects about making the ask, and also about the technical details of fundraising and gift options. That was an important fundraising that starts to tell us that at a deep level that we ourselves are concerned about how we participate in our profession, how we're seen as participating, and consequently, what our grandmothers are going to think of us. So your grandmother might have a good reason to be disappointed if you tell her you're a fundraiser. I've just held up a little bit Now, there's some great stories as well, but I want to focus in on the hesitancy, if you will. And ultimately, what can we do about it? So there's a lot of bad fundraising out there. And all of what we do gets a bad label. And you know the statistic, I think, that bad news is 7 times more likely to be spread than good news. So that bad news gets reproduced. And it forms in people's heads. And consequently, students don't want to even go into our profession. You know, last year, this was done by the independent sector, only 56% of Americans trust nonprofits. And that's down 3% from the year before. And that's down 3 or 5% from the year before that. So there's decreasing trust in nonprofits that exists in Canada, in Great Britain, and in the United States. That's a universal feeling. So we're up against it, and it's increasing. It's time we took a really serious look at our profession and what we can do about it. I'm identifying 3 challenges here. The first challenge is that our industry is poorly defined. It's actually not lotteries. It's not tax avoidance, nor is it direct mail hounding. That's marketing. In fact, in many cases, bad marketing. But I don't think that we have spent enough time clearly defining our industry. That's the first challenge. The second one is that fundraising is almost totally an unregulated industry. It's a huge industry in all countries. And in the next video, I'll go into that. It's a huge industry. In fact, it's the largest unregulated industry in all countries. What can we do about that? And I'm speaking about unregulated, both organizationally, by organization, and personally, the individual fundraiser. The third challenge, I believe, is that we are unclear about our job or our roles as fundraisers. We have to spend a lot more time clearly defining our roles and setting standards within our industry on how we live out those roles. That's for the next video, part 2 of how to tell your grandmother that you're a fundraiser. So in many ways, part 1 is just introduce the challenges. Part 2, we're going to get into the solutions. What can we do about it? I hope to see you on the next video. Thank you.